Hello everyone, this is Scott Sullivan from Classical Theist. I want to talk to you today about this thing that people say all the time. That I've heard this 1,000 times in my work in making the Christ 101 project. We did a lot of street interviews, and I can't tell you how many times I've seen college-age kids say this. They'll say, you know, the Jesus stories, they were all based on just myths. They're based on pagan myths, like the myth of Osiris, and that's where they got this. It was just a retelling of the same old myth. And, you know, where did these guys hear this? Well, they probably heard it on some documentary or whatever, because that's very sensationalistic. The problem with this claim that the Jesus story is just based on pagan myths is that it's completely false. It is simply not true. The claim itself is based on scholarship that's about, 100 years out of date. This is not where the historical Jesus scholarship is today. Most scholars reject this whole connection between pagan myths and the historical Jesus. And there are three good reasons why they do this. The first reason is because the similarities between the two are simply exaggerated. They aren't that close at all. I mean, take the Osiris myth, take the Jesus story, put them side by side, look at it. The similarities are not that great. Yeah, you can draw you can see some sort of similarity there, but it's not strong enough to derive some sort of notion of literary dependence. You don't get that when you lay these two stories side by side. So the similarities between the two are simply exaggerated. Secondly, it is just absurd to think that devout monotheistic Jews would just willy-nilly pick up pagan beliefs. They were not prone to doing that. These are hardcore Jews. They took their faith seriously, and they're not apt to just randomly adopting pagan views, piecing that together, and then worshiping that construction. They are not going to do that. So it is very far-fetched to think this kind of idea that the Jesus story was somehow connected to pagan beliefs. It's very far-fetched to think that could arise in an ancient Palestinian Jewish context. Now finally, and most importantly, the Jesus account contains many historically verifiable details. This is stuff that's not found in myths. With the Jesus story, we have a tremendous amount of what scholars call verisimilitude. Verisimilitude, that just means corroboration by external sources. It could be other written sources, it could be other archaeological sources. Nevertheless, the Jesus account has many historically verifiable details. You don't get this with a myth, so it's completely erroneous to just look for a couple connections between, say, the Osiris myth on one hand and the Jesus story on the other, and then somehow draw some kind of inference of literary dependence. There isn't that. So there is absolutely no good reason to think that the Jesus story was some retelling of an old pagan myth. All the evidence suggests otherwise.